In 1519, a Spanish commander landed on the coast of Mexico with a few hundred men, facing an empire of millions. His soldiers were outnumbered beyond calculation, far from home and afraid. And according to the legend that has outlived every detail of the history, he gave an order that made retreat impossible: destroy the ships. Burn the boats. Whatever waited inland, victory or death, there would be no sailing home. The story survives 5 centuries later not because of the conquest, which deserves no celebration, but because of the psychology, which everyone who hears it recognizes instantly. Something profound happens to human beings when the exit disappears. Because here's what the burning boats actually changed. Nothing about the enemy, nothing about the odds, only the mathematics of attention. Before, every soldier's mind was split. Part of him fought, part of him watched the shoreline, calculating the retreat, rehearsing the story he'd tell back home. After the fire, there was nothing to calculate. One direction, one question. The entire man aimed forward. And that not the ships, not the era, not the conquest, is the lesson that belongs to you. A person with a back door is never fully in the room. Look at how this plays out in the life you're living now. You've seen it, you've lived it. The relationship kept at 80%, one eye always on the hypothetical alternatives, which means it never becomes what full presence would have made it. The business tried for a year, but tried with a fallback fully maintained, resume warm, effort quietly calibrated to the possibility of failure. The new city moved to, but never truly landed in, because half the boxes stayed packed and half the heart stayed home. We call this keeping our options open, and we consider it wisdom. But watch what it actually does. The open option doesn't sit there neutrally. It likes. Every alternative you keep alive siphons attention, energy, and most fatally, commitment from the path you're on. The mind, knowing an exit exists, budgets for it. Effort becomes provisional. And provisional effort produces provisional results, which then seem to justify the hedge. See, good thing I kept the exit. It's a self-fulfilling loop, and entire lives get spent inside it, decades of one foot in, wondering why nothing ever quite blooms. The psychologists have caught this on camera, so to speak. In a famous experiment, students were told they could keep or exchange a print they'd chosen. Those who were allowed to change their minds later liked their choice significantly less than those whose choice was final. Reversibility didn't feel like freedom. It functioned as a low-grade poison, keeping the question forever open, the alternative forever glowing. The finality group's minds did what minds do with settled matters. They got to work making peace, finding the virtues, building satisfaction. There's a name for the machinery. When the exit closes, the mind stops litigating and starts committing. Doubt is expensive, and the mind only pays for it while doubt might still be useful. Close the case, and those resources flood back into the path itself. This is why the engaged but hedging person is miserable in every option, while the committed person flourishes in one. Happiness, it turns out, follows commitment more than commitment follows happiness. And the world can smell the difference. That's the second force multiplier. Half-committed people broadcast their hedge in 100 unconscious ways. The guarded language, the effort ceilings, the we'll see how it goes. Others read the signal and match it. Investors hold back on the founder with an exit plan. Communities hold back on the resident who's clearly passing through. People hold back on the partner who's visibly keeping a lane open. Why would anyone burn their boats for someone who's kept theirs? But full commitment triggers the opposite cascade. The person who is unmistakably all in draws allies, resources, and loyalty like gravity, partly because commitment is rare enough to be magnetic, and partly because it's the only thing safe to build on. Nobody invests in a maybe. Everyone wants to help an inevitability. Now, before you set fire to everything, let's separate real boat burning from recklessness, because the metaphor gets abused. Burning the boats does not mean quitting your job on a whim. emptying the savings on an untested idea, or making irreversible bets on unexamined guesses. That's not commitment, that's gambling with dramatic lighting. The sequence matters, and it has two phases. Phase 1, choose carefully. Explore, test, gather evidence, date before marrying, prototype before launching, visit before moving. Optionality is genuinely valuable while you're deciding. The pathology isn't having options, it's the refusal to ever spend them. Phase 2, once the evidence is in and the choice is made, close the exits. Deliberately, on purpose, with ceremony if it helps. Set the date. Sign the lease. Make the announcement. Tell everyone whose opinion you fear public commitment is one of the strongest behavioral locks ever documented. Delete the fallback plan document, you know the one. The formula is slow to choose, total once chosen. Most people run it exactly backwards, impulsive entries, permanent exits, hedging forever on the big right things, and going irreversibly all in on the small wrong ones. There's a subtler boat to burn too, and it's often the one that matters most, the story boat. The inner narrative that says, this is temporary, I'm just seeing how it goes, this isn't really my life yet. You can stay somewhere 10 years on that story and never once be there. Burning the story boat means a sentence said to yourself and meant, this is my craft, not something I'm trying. This is my person, not my current situation. This is my city, my community, my life, not a layover. Watch what changes within weeks of actually meaning it. You start investing in things only committed people invest in, the deep relationships, the long-term skills, the roots, because the part of you that was holding back for the departure finally gets the memo that no departure is coming. Half of what people call feeling stuck is actually the opposite. They've never let themselves land. And what about the fear, the real one, the whisper that says, but what if I commit fully and it fails? Here's the answer, and it's the most counterintuitive part of the whole philosophy. Full commitment is the best insurance against failure, and it's also the best way to fail. Best insurance because total effort dramatically shifts the odds. Most ventures don't die of external causes. They die of undercommitment, starved by their own founders hedging. But also the best way to fail, because if the fully committed thing fails anyway, you walk away with something the hedger never gets, a clean answer. It wasn't lack of effort. You actually found out, and the question is closed forever, with no ghost of what if I'd really tried following you into the next chapter. The hedger's failure teaches nothing and haunts everything. The committed failure teaches everything and haunts nothing. Even your worst case is better all in. Because here's the truth about the shoreline where the boats sit. You were never going to sail home anyway. Rewind any of your abandoned attempts. Did the fallback plan ever lead somewhere glorious? Or did it lead where fallbacks always laid, back to the starting point, older, with a story about why it didn't work out? The boats don't save you. They just guarantee you fight every battle at half strength, then offer you a ride back to the life you were trying to leave. So tonight, take the inventory. Where in your life is 1 foot out the door? The job you do at 80% while keeping options open. The craft you'll commit to once you're sure. The person, the place, the project running on provisional effort. Pick the one where the evidence is already in, where you already know and have known for a while and have just been keeping the exit warm out of fear. And this week, close it. Publicly, concretely, irreversibly as makes sense. The announcement, the signature, the deleted plan B, the sentence said out loud with your whole chest. Then turn around, face inland, and notice what the soldiers noticed as the smoke rose behind them, the strange, enormous relief of a single direction. All that energy you've spent for years watching the shoreline, it's yours again. Aimed for once entirely forward. The boats were never your safety. They were your sailing. Burn them, and go see, finally, how far you get when all of you shows up.